Hey guys, welcome to the next video on Python thread tutorial for beginners. In the last video, we have seen how to use threading module to create threads in Python. Now in this video also, we are going to see how to create threads using threading module, but we are going to see in this video how to subclass from the thread class which is available inside the threading module and then create threads out of that class instance. So to start with, I have the same method which is print epoch, which I want to call inside the thread. So now here after this method, what I want to do is I want to create a class. So I'm going to create a class, and the name of the class I'm going to give the name as my thread, for example. And one thing we need to do here is we need to subclass from the thread class, from the threading module. So we are going to just call first of all threading dot thread. So we are subclassing from the thread class. Now inside this my class, first of all we are going to define the init method. So let's define this init method, and in this init method we are going to pass two arguments, same as this print epoch function. So first argument will be the name of the thread and the second argument will be the delay. So let's provide these two arguments. First is the name and second is the delay. Now after this, inside this init method we need to call the parents init method, which is threading.thread.init. So we are going to just call threading.thread dot underscore underscore init method, which is going to call the parent init method, which is threading.thread, right? Now once you have done that, we can just simply define some local member variable for the name. So first of all, self.name is equal to name and self.delay is equal to delay. So now once we have our member variables, what we need to do next is we need to override a method called run, which is available inside the thread class in threading module. So I'm going to just define a run method and we are going to override this. So first of all, what does this run method do? So the run method is the entry point for the thread. Now in the previous video, if you remember, we have called the start method on the thread class, right? So the start method starts the thread by calling this run method. So under the hood, start method calls this run method. So if we override this run method, that means when we call the start method from the thread class, this run method is going to be called. So now we can do some logging here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print first of all start thread, and then I'm going to print end thread. Now between the start thread and end thread logging, I'm going to call the print epoch function, and this print epoch function is going to take two arguments, which is name. So I'm going to just pass the self dot name, which we have assigned to the member variable, and second is the self dot delay. So once again, when we call the start method on the instance of this my thread class, this run method is going to be called by the start method automatically, because we are subclassing from the threading.thread class. Now once we have our run method and we have created the init method, we can create some instances of my class. So I'm going to create some instances. For example, t1 is equal to my thread, and then we are going to pass those two arguments. First is the name. So let's say the name is thread 1, and the delay we want to provide here is, let's say, 1 second, because this delay is going to go to the print epoch method, which is this one, right? Once again, we are going to create the second instance, let's say T2, and once again we are going to call the myThread class, which we have subclassed from the thread class. And once again we are going to give these two arguments. First is the thread, so this time I'm going to name it as thread2, and the delay I'm going to give here is 2 seconds, let's say. And now after the instance is created, we can call the start method and the join method on these two instances. So let me just call t1 dot start, and then we are going to call the t2 dot start. And once we have the start, which is going to start the threads, we are going to just call the join method. And by now you already know what this join method do, which is to wait for the thread to be completed. So I'm going to just call the join method on t2 also, and let's run this script and let's see what happens. So I'm going to run this script, and you can see first of all start thread has been called, which is from the logging of this print method, and then thread 1 is printed and the epoch time is printed, and then thread 2 is printed and the epoch time is printed. Because we have given the 1 second delay for the thread 1, so thread 1 will be iterated faster than thread 2, because we have provided the delay of 2 seconds for thread 2 and 1 second for thread 1. As soon as the thread ends, we can see this print statement, which is end thread, and after the end of the thread 2, we can see this print statement, which is end thread 2. We can also print here, so let's print some more things here. So we can print the name of the thread. So I'm going to just write self dot name, and we are going to do the same for the end thread also. So I'm going to just print here also self dot name, so we will know which thread is starting and which thread is ending. Once again I'm going to run the program, and now you can see start thread 1, so thread 1 is started, and then thread 2 is started, and you can see first of all thread 1 is ended, and at last thread 2 is ended. So this is how you can subclass from the thread class, which is available inside the threading module. Now inside this threading module there are some special methods which we are going to see now. So the first method is, so let me just go after this start of the threads. So here what I'm going to do is, first of all I'm going to use the print function, and inside this print function I'm going to call the threading module, and there are some special methods. For example, first of all we are going to see what is the active count of threads. So what are the number of threads which are there inside this program. This is going to print the number of threads. Now the second method which I'm going to show you is the threading. First of all let me just call the threading dot, we are going to call the current thread. So this is going to print the current thread which is active right now. And third method which I want to show here is threading dot enumerate, and this enumerate method is going to enumerate the number of threads which are active. So let's run this program once again and let's see what happens. So I'm going to just run this program, and first of all you will see 3 is printed using this print statement, which is threading dot active count. So active count is going to give you the number of threads, and you already know that we have created 2 threads and 1 main thread is already available. So total number of threads are 3 here, which is printed. Now the current thread here, this print statement prints this output, which is the main thread. So right now at the time of this print statement, main thread is active. Now this enumerate method, as I said, is going to enumerate over all the threads which are available. So main thread is available, and then we have created thread 1, which is this one. This is the name of the thread 1, and then when I scroll here you can see thread 2 is available. So total 3 threads are available: main thread, thread 1 and thread 2. So these methods you can use to just find out how many threads are there, what is the current thread, and you can also enumerate over all the threads. There is one more method, so I'm going to call this method here, and I'm going to print it inside the print function, and this time I'm going to use the instances. So t1 dot, and there is a method available here which is get name, which comes from the thread class, and because we are subclassing from the thread class, this and because we are subclassing from the thread class, this get name is available inside the my thread class also, and same we are going to do here also. So print and then t2 dot get name. So this is going to give you the name of the thread by default. So I'm going to just run this script once again, and you can see this is going to print thread 1 and this is going to print thread 2. Now you might wonder why this name is thread 1 and thread 2. Because this get name method is going to give the value of self.name, which we have assigned using this name argument. So this name is overwritten in the subclass, which is my thread class, and that's why it's giving us thread 1 and thread 2 name, which we have provided. If we change this name, let's say T1 and T2, and once again we run the code, you can see the name also changes to T1 and T2. So this is how you can subclass from the thread class, which is available inside the threading module. And we have also seen some of the method which are available inside the threading module, which are useful to us. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video.